Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Getting ready for a nice, relaxing weekend, hopefully for most of you. And for those of you that are out there working, thank you very much for everything that you do. Whether it's from the healthcare field to law enforcement, all of the first line, first responders. It's got to be extremely difficult for those people and their families at this point. Can't even imagine. So thank you for everything that you do. I have a brother that works in retail, and I know it's like a constant onslaught every day. So let's just think about those people. I'm extremely fortunate and can stay home and just really go out whenever I absolutely need something, but a lot of people don't have that capability right now. And especially for me, it's, unless I'm constantly interacting with people in that state, it admittedly is difficult for me to try to put my mind in that place and look through the world, look at the world through that lens. Why should you protect what you say and publish, regardless of whether or not you have something to hide? In my most recent video, I talked about how companies like YouTube, Google, Facebook use algorithms to inspect content. And you can actually kind of see this if you use Facebook, say on a browser. I've noticed as the page loads, you can see tags in photos. So like there's metadata or details about pictures. And they can scan those pictures and identify objects. So if your page is loading slow enough, or you have the ability to do some inspection on a Facebook page, I don't know if it's still like this, but you could literally see the tags of objects that they had identified. So like if there was a picture of Kenna in a photo, it would be like dog, or if I was in there, it'd be like human face, something. They're clearly identifying what's going on. And most of you have probably used a telephone service which allows you to speak and have that text ultimately interpreted by a computer, and that is what allows you to progress through prompts without touching anything or speaking to a human. They can take your words, translate it to text, and compare that to conditions programmed into the system. Now, most of us have nothing to hide. I mean, why? We're just going about our business. And if you remember, after 9/11, George Bush, the Patriot Act, essentially loosened a lot of the freedoms and guidelines around the protections of communication. And this was never rolled back, okay? I don't think most people realize that, but that was never fully rolled back. And again, you may have nothing to hide, but the point is, any data that you put out there, even if you're just talking over a phone, is most likely being stored in a database and then replicated hundreds, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of times over. So that data is going nowhere. And let's not pretend that data can't be inspected retroactively. You could have something that you said in a conversation 5 years ago that's in some database, and if a person who has access to that data can essentially just set up AI or some program to inspect the data looking for patterns. So purely hypothetical, but if you have a government that's in control, it's for the people, representative of the people, truly trying to protect the public when it comes to data and security. So they're inspecting conversations, looking for keywords that may trigger some sort of system to say this might be a threat and potentially flag it for further review, just like YouTube does. You know the government is doing this. Stop lying to yourself or pretending like it's not happening. If they're not doing it, they're offloading it to someone else, leeching it off of another source who's already doing it. So stop living in your dream world and understand that everything you do in a digital means is being recorded and documented, and it's not going anywhere. The risk that we run into is when you have governments and organizations that have access to data because of a situation where people may have been vulnerable, like after 9/11, the overwhelming majority of people were like, yes, we have nothing to hide. So please do whatever you need to do to ensure that any communications between someone trying to harm this country are intercepted. But and this is where the downside of the optimism bias really starts to take effect. And if you haven't heard of the optimism bias, go Google it, watch the TED Talk. Maybe you can become one of the people who aren't constantly biased towards thinking everything is going to be okay. And maybe adopt like a realist point of view, because we're living in reality, not some idealistic world, clearly. But if you have people that don't see eye to eye with you, they can easily go back, look at data, send their systems out to flag whatever content they deem irresponsible or harmful, and ultimately flag you. So please, even if you have nothing to hide right now under the current administration or whatever it is, try to keep in mind that that data you're transferring over digital means is going nowhere. And yeah, I'm using logic and common sense, again, realizing that saying this puts me at risk. I don't care. Because I talk to a lot of people that have no idea that any of this is even possible or exists. So please, be vigilant. Stop trusting everyone, especially when we're in the middle of what looks like potential global economic collapse. Do your homework. Please research. Stop trusting everything the mainstream media tells you.